In this lecture, we'll continue to make our website responsive. So the next thing we can do here is to remove some white space, for instance here and here between those steps and here between the steps and the button. And we will also increase this image a little bit. And so let's go do that. And we're still here at this media screen, which will target from small tablets to big tablets. Alright, so we can start with the steps box. And let's say that it should have a margin top to only 10 pixels now. So I'm, as I said, starting to remove some of the white space here. So I also have the works steps, right? And I will say that I want the margin button to be 40 pixels. I think it was 50, if I remember it correctly, but let's check it. So form, how it works section, okay. So the steps box had 30 and 70, and now I'm going to set them to 10. And I will actually have to do this for the steps box last child as well. Okay, so the work steps had a margin bottom here of 50, and I will have to set this one here as well. So let me copy this, and I also need the steps box last child, right? So this may be a little confusing because, you know, it's a lot of code we have to change here. So if you want, you can then later review the code a little more slowly. So I want this to be 10 pixels as well. And now between the last step and those buttons, I will say 60 pixels should be enough. And I will also now decrease the app screen, which is the image. And I want a width of 50%. So increase it from 40% to 50%. See, it was 40, now it will be 50. Okay, I'm going to reload this thing now. Well, this looks much better, right? Let's resize it. Okay, so here we have our breakpoint at 10:23. Well, this is how it looks like. And as we get it smaller, so this is the other breakpoint. Okay, so this section looks good now. And now we have a little problem in here because those icons are way too wide. So let's go back and reduce their width. And also I should actually decrease the font size in here. So those icons are icon small class. So let me check them. So they have the width of 30 pixels. And I will decrease that to, let's say, 20 pixels. And then the city future class, I will decrease its font size to 90%. And let's reload this, and this looks much better. So there's still like a line break here on some smaller width, like this one here. So I'm going to decrease it even more. to 17, for instance. And let me check it again. This margin right can be set to 5 pixels. So you see I'm changing a lot of stuff here. And yeah, I'm doing that because it really is important to make our websites look good on any device and on any width. So this didn't change so much actually, but well, it's the best we can get, right? So in here everything looks okay. You know, so these boxes have a width of 90% and a margin left of 5% to center them. So I'm going to change that down here, and these are called plan box. And so let's change now the width and say 100% and the margin left to 0%. Let's check it. It's better. And now let's decrease these font sizes here. And there's also some weird thing going on again with the HTML. So I'm also going to fix that. But let's start by reducing the font size here of this. And that is the plan price, right? I'm actually going to copy this one and put it here. And let's say 250%. So the code is getting much bigger, and it's not always easy to find the stuff that we want to edit, right? Okay, that is the problem. It's this that. Alright. So, alright. And now just let's increase the width of this contact form class as well. Contact form and 80%. So we still don't want it to be full width, but a little wider is better. All right. So this looks good now. So we fixed everything in this media query here. So now let's get to the next one. And this one is for small phones to small tablets. For instance, the iPhone 6. So I will put the browser to this lowest width of 481 or 480. So you see the width up there, and 480 is absolutely very small. Let's say like 500, close to 500. So a lot of things going on here. All of this looks quite bad right now, right? So that's what I mean. We really need to adapt this. Look at this button. And you also notice a strange thing here, which is this here. So now we have this problem because some of the text goes out of the actual width. So let us fix that, and it's easy to do. We just need to add a new style here, which is overflow X and then hidden. So now that will get hidden. And we actually should do the same for the body, and we can actually add body here. It's not such a big difference. So now that will be fixed, that problem as well. So let's go back to our queries and start adding some code into this media query here. So I'll start by reducing the body font size even more. to now 16 pixels. And the section, I will reduce the padding between those, so the white space between those, which we set to 60 before, but now we have really small devices, so let's say 30 pixels and 0. And now the padding at rows, we set that before, I think, yeah, to 2%, but let's set it to 4% now. So row, and also this box, this hero text box, this is equally important in the header. So let's set their padding on the left and the right side. So 0 and top and bottom, and 4% at left and right. And before we go check how this looks, we can do one last thing, and this is that we now want to define the width of all the columns as 100%, which means that the columns will no longer be side by side, but will be stacked on top of each other. So let's see what that looks like. Alright, here we go. Still have this problem here. I'm going to talk about it in a second. So this is what I was talking about. Those are now on top of each other. Alright, here we have some weird stuff going on. I'm going to fix that in a second. Those images are way too large. And down here, everything looks quite good. But yeah, one thing after the other. So I'm first going to fix this navigation. And in fact, we're going to build a mobile navigation in the next section, where we will start learning some jQuery. And so for now, I'm just going to hide all of the navigation. And that's pretty easy to do, actually. I will just say main nav display none. And this will hide the entire navigation. Alright. The class name. Okay, and that looks better for now. So I'm not going to change every little detail here now, because you can do that later on yourself. I'm just going to fix the most important thing now, which is, for instance, this margin here. So I now want this paragraph to be 100% wide as well. So this is one of the things that I'm going to change. Then we can probably make these H2 elements a little bit smaller, and the H1 element as well. And then take away some more white space here from this section will also be important. And I think down here most of the things look pretty good. So don't need all this space here. We already had changed the long copy here, but now I'm gonna go even further and say 100% and margin 0%. Right, and as I said, I will also reduce the font size of the H1 element. So font size, let me say 180%, and I will duplicate this for the H2 element and reduce the size to 150%. Okay, and now going back to this code here, which is for the how it works section, let's make this white space even smaller here. Let me check how it looks so that I know what to change here. So the most important thing is to reduce this here, right? So let's do that. So we don't need this. Probably 20 pixels is great, and here also 20. We don't need so much white space. And one other thing I should do there is to reduce the circle in the works section. So let's change this here maybe to 40 pixels and 40 pixels here as well. We'll of course not change any of those. Change this to 15 pixels and also decrease the padding a little bit, so make all of the things a little bit smaller. Okay, something is not working here right now. This space is still way too big. Okay, that's because I misspelled this right here. Okay, now it looks better. And I just need to change the font size in here. And to, of course, put this image here in the center. So font size 100%, let's say 120 in fact. And so where is that? So this is for the image. So the steps box first child. I now want it to be centered. Alright, let's just resize this a little bit. Whoa, the image is so incredibly big now. So we better make that a little bit smaller again. So where is that? Here it's app screen. App screen, and I'm going to change that to 40 pixels. Okay, looks like the correct size now. Alright, so as I said, I will let you tweak other minor things here on the website on your own with your own CSS. But there's still one thing that I need to fix, and it's this here. You see these columns doesn't start at the same point, right? So the first column is different than this one's here, and that is actually because I forgot to change one thing, and it has to do here with the column, and this comes actually from this grid file. So all columns have a margin, which is this one. Let me copy it to our query CSS so that we can change it to what we want. So currently we have a left margin of 1%, 0% at the right side, 1% bottom, and 1.6 on the left. So now we don't want anything of that. We want the margin to be 0 here, 0 on the right, and on the bottom is the only place we want some margin, because we want, we want some distance here between those boxes. So let me put this to 4% and this also to 0. And that will now fix this weird thing. Yeah, and this looks much better. Now we have some space here between the boxes, and they all start at the same place, right? So I think this looks cool now. And let's now look here at our last media query, which is for really small screen sizes. Let me just put this here. Like, actually can put it smaller than this, and it still looks good in here, so there's maybe not so much to change. So all I'm going to do is to make this form here 100% wide and to remove even more padding between those sections, because we have to imagine that it's a really small phone. So let me just make some minor changes here, in fact. So I will say section padding, we had 30 pixels, let's say 25 now, and 0 left and right. And the contact form can have a width of 100%. So I just didn't want to leave this empty, but in fact it maybe was not so necessary. But who knows, maybe in your future websites you will actually need this media query. So I'm going to reload this for the last time. And so this is our website on a mobile phone. So feel free to change some more stuff here on your own, because now you know how all of this works, but I'm going to leave it as this. So we are now done with the HTML and CSS part of our website actually. So congratulations! In the next lecture we will just test this website on different browsers, which is a very important aspect of web design and web development. So see you there.